Hi everyone, I'll be going over the practice final for MAT1033 in this video. Since it is 40 questions, I will do 10, not 10 videos, I'll do 4 videos of 10 questions each. Now, like I mentioned in my prior announcement, since I've gone through and done the other practice finals and or not the practice finals, but the other practice tests, and you've worked on those practice tests already, this will be done a little bit quicker because most of the topics are very much a review. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 here. Number 1, we want to solve -3 times x minus 3 plus 2 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 6. We want to distribute the -3 through. We know we have to get rid of any parentheses. Do that, we get -3x plus 9. And then we have our plus 2 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 6. Just distributing the -3 through. And now we want to gather all the x's on one side and the numbers on the other. The way I will do that is I'll add the 3x to get it over with the 4x on the right side. That'll cancel. And the -6, I'll add that to the other side to get it away from the x's. Now remember, when you add or subtract across inequalities, it does not change anything. You can just do this without having to worry about anything else. Now 9 plus 2 plus 6 is 11 plus 6 is 17. Is greater than or equal to 4x plus 3x is 7x. Now we want to divide by 7 to get x by itself. And when we do that, we have 17 over 7 is greater than or equal to x. Well, we have solved because we do have x by itself. The only issue is reading this sometimes can be a little confusing. So go ahead and just put the x on the left and the 17 over 7 on the right. And if you're not sure about how this is going to look, it's going to flip ways because the mouth or the inequality sign, however you want to think about it, is opening away from x. So it's still going to be opening away from x, and we still have the equal part. So that would be our answer, and then we would select the option that looks exactly like that. We have x is less than or equal to. I'll just go ahead and click on the answer key so you can see it. And then the number is 17 over 7. All right, number 2. Number 2, we want to evaluate 81 to the 5/4. Now this is a calculator problem. You can do it by hand. It's possible, but it's probably best to do it with a calculator. The only thing to remember here is when you use exponents in a calculator and you write that caret symbol, you put it in parentheses. So anytime you have an exponent that's not just a whole number and you want to put it in your calculator, put it in parentheses. But if you do that, I'm just going to do it in my calculator on my own. We have 81 raised to the 5 divided by 4 power. If you do that correctly, you should get 243. And that's all there is. But once again, it's just a calculator problem. If you forget this parentheses though, it will give you a different answer that is not correct. Number 3. Number 3, we want to simplify this expression completely. We have 3z to the 7th. That whole thing is being squared. And then we're dividing by z to the -6. Right. So when it comes to distributing exponents, you can distribute exponents when it's all multiplication inside. We can distribute this 2 through to both the z to the 7th and the 3 because we're multiplying them. So go ahead and do that. We get 3 squared times, and when we do z to the 7th and we square that, we multiply the exponents. We get z to the 14th. And that's over z to the -6. That part didn't get changed. And now 3 squared is 9. Definitely make sure you take care of that. The z to the 14th over z to the -6. How do we simplify that? Well, it is the same letter. So what we do is we just rewrite our z and we do the top exponent minus the bottom exponent. 14 minus -6. And then simplify this number. Double minus gets a plus, and 14 plus 6 is 20. So our final answer is 9z to the 20th power. Number 4 here. Number 4, we want to evaluate this function. We have f of x equals 7x squared plus 3x minus 6. And we want to evaluate f of negative 3. What is f of negative 3? Well, we should know that means just go ahead and plug in negative 3 for x. So let's do that. We have 7, we have negative 3 squared plus 3 times negative 3 minus 6. Negative 3 squared is 9, so this is 7 times 9. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, so I can change that plus to a minus, minus 9, minus 6. And what I would go ahead and do is just simplify the 7 times 9 first, do your order of operations, that is 63. And then minus 9 and minus 6. And now just simplify this all at once. 63 minus 9 minus 6 is just 48. But when you plug in a number to a function, you get out a number. And that's all there is to that. Okay, number 5. Number 5, this is really just a graphing problem. All right, looking at the graph here, we have the shape. And it's asking, what is the domain? What is the range? Well, the domain is the x values were being used. But one thing to remember is that when you're looking at a graph, we can't graph the whole thing if it goes on forever. So what's happening is as we go to the left and this is falling down, it's going to go down, but it's also moving to the left forever. So it's going to go down to y equals negative infinity, but it's also going to go left to negative infinity for x as well. And as we move to the right, the same thing is happening. It's falling down, so it's going to go down to negative infinity for y. The x value, since it's moving to the right, is going to go to positive infinity. Okay, so with that information, how do we write the domain and range? Well, the domain is the x values. And it's going to have the form with two parentheses, a and b with parentheses. The reason why it's having parentheses is because infinity and negative infinity always use parentheses. So I'll repeat again, the domain is the x values. It's starting way back at negative infinity because we can all go all the way left. And you'll see that when we hit a, negative infinity. And then as we go all the way to the right, it goes to positive infinity. And you can see that we get the positive infinity. But when you do infinities, it's automatically parentheses. So let's go ahead and just reveal that. And we have our answer. What about the range? Well, the range, it's starting at negative infinity. The range is the y values. So the lowest it goes is negative infinity. Okay, it's going to be negative infinity. What's the highest it goes? Well, the y value means you're looking at the top of the graph and it goes up to 1. So this is going to be 1 for b because that's the largest y value we hit on the graph. But what's the format for the answer? Well, we automatically know that a is going to be a parentheses because it's negative infinity. So it's going to be one of these two. But which one is it? Well, it turns out b is going to be a bracket because it's part of our graph. When we hit y equals 1, it's part of the graph. If it was not part of the graph, like infinity is not really a number, then it gets a parentheses. But if it's part of the graph, like this is right here, then we use a bracket. And I'll go ahead and reveal the answer so you can see that as well. All right, so for number 5, that was just a graphing question. Number 6, we want to add and simplify. We have 8 over x minus 4 plus x minus 68 over x squared minus 16. Now, how do we do this one? Well, the thing to start off with is remembering that you should factor all denominators. Right? Because in order to simplify these together, add them together, you have to have the same denominator. The easiest way to do that is figure out if I can factor them, then I might see what's missing. Now for x minus 4, there's nothing you can factor. It's just 8 over x minus 4 plus, and then the numerator x minus 68, you can't factor either, but we don't really care about factoring the numerators, just the denominators. Now, x squared minus 16 is a difference of squares. That does factor, and it's x minus 4 times x plus 4. Right, so remember the difference of squares, you do this, if you have x squared, then each one's gonna have x, and if it was a different letter, you would just use a different letter. And the 16, I know it's gonna be 4s because the square root of 16 is 4. Now, what do we do from here? Well, the main goal is to make the denominators match so that we can add the numerators together. We have an x minus 4 in each denominator, but the denominator on the right here has an x plus 4. We want to make an x plus 4 in this denominator, but we can't just multiply the bottom by x plus 4 unless if we also multiply the top by x plus 4. You have to keep the fractions balanced. If you multiply the bottom by something, you also have to multiply the top by something. But once you do that, then you can start to simplify quite a bit. So on the left here, we have 8 times x plus 4. The 8 would get distributed. And you have 8x plus 32 over x minus 4 times x plus 4. Now for the right one, we didn't do anything to that. We got x minus 68 over x minus 4 times x plus 4. And now we can combine them into one fraction because we have matching denominators. So we have x minus 4 times x plus 4. And then our numerators, we just add them together. We have 8x plus 32 plus, and then x minus 68. Combine your like terms on the top. 8x plus x is 9x. And 32 minus 68 is negative 36. And that's over x minus 4 times x plus 4. And it's easy to think at this point we're done, but you have to do one more thing. Can you factor the numerator? Well, the 9 and the 36 have a 9 in common, so you can factor a 9 out. When you do that, the x goes away, or sorry, the x is left, and then when we take a 9 out of 36, divide 36 by 9, you're left with 4. So it's 9 times x minus 4. Then it's over our denominator that we still haven't touched yet, x minus 4 times x plus 4. But you can see why that's so useful to factor, because now the top and bottom both have an x minus 4. They can cancel, and we're left with just 9 over x plus 4. And that's our final answer. We can go ahead and just check that real quickly. Click on it, and you can see that we do in fact have 9 over x plus 4. Right, number 7. What is number 7 here? Okay, it's just a matching graphing question, so we don't really have to do anything except match. We want to see which of the following is the graph of y equals negative 2.5x minus 1. Well, this is a line. We know the y-intercept is negative 1. I'm just going to go ahead and write that down. The y-intercept is at negative 1. Technically, the x value is 0, the y is at negative 1. And what you'll notice is that the two on the left here have a y-intercept of 1, so neither of those work. The two on the right both have a y-intercept of negative 1, so both of those would work. So it could be either one of these. How are we going to figure out which one it is? Well, we can use the slope to figure that out, or we can plug in a different x value. The slope is negative 2.5. What that means is if x goes up by 1, so think about we're starting at this y-intercept, which we know is negative 1. If x goes up by 1, that means it's going to go to the right one. The slope being negative 2.5 means the y value goes down. Because it's negative, it's going to go down by 2.5. Okay, so if we're looking at this first one over here, if we go to the right one, the y value must go down by 2.5. This one's going down, and it looks like it'd be 2.5 because it's going down 1, 2, and then halfway. So that looks right. What about the other one, just to make sure? Well, if we go to the right one here and we go down 2.5, you can see that our graph doesn't even go down at all. It goes up. So that leaves us with one choice, which is this one. and I'll just hit submit the question instead of showing the answer key because it'll be pretty big to show the correct graph. But that's how we can figure out the graph of a line. All right, number 8. Number 8, we want to find the equation of the line with slope is 4. Remember, slope is m, so m is 4, and passes through the point 8, 38. Write your answer in the form y equals mx plus b, and they in fact have y equals as part of the answer box anyway, so we have to solve for y. But how do we do this? We use point slope form. That's that y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and the 8 is the x1 and the 38 is the y1. So when we plug that in, we get y minus 38 equals 4 for m, parentheses x minus 8, which is x1. Right. Now we simplify this for y, distribute the 4 through. I'm not going to do anything else yet, just distributing the 4 through. We got y minus 38 on the left, and on the right, we got 4x, and 4 times 8 is 32, so minus 32. And one more step to solve for y is you just have to add 38 to each side. And when we do that, we get y equals 4x, negative 32 plus 38 is positive 6. And as long as we got 4x plus 6 there, actually it has y equals, but that's already there. 4x plus 6, we're good to go. Number 9. Number 9, we're given the equation of a line this time, so we're doing something else. We have 5x minus 7y equals 16. And it says put in slope-intercept form, meaning y equals mx plus b form, and tell me what the slope and y-intercept are. All right, it says do not enter as a decimal. All right, so what do we want to do? Well, for this, we have to solve for y. Right? Because slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Pretty much the same idea up here. We want to get y by itself. We're just given the equation already. So how can we get y by itself here? We want to get this y by itself. Well, first thing is to subtract everything that's not with the y term, which is just the 5x, to the other side. When we do that, we have negative 7y equals negative 5x plus 16. And then how do we get the y by itself? Now that it's the only term is we divide. We want to get rid of that negative 7. We can do that if we divide everything by negative 7. So because we have a plus or a minus over here, we have to divide each part by 7, not just one of the parts. When we do that, the negatives cancel in the first term, and we got y equals 5x over 7. And then here we have 16 over negative 7. If you prefer, which I would, just change the plus sign here to a minus by moving it up. We get minus 16 over 7. And we actually can see the slope and y-intercept directly because the slope is the number multiplying the x, which is 5 over 7. And the y-intercept, the b, is the number being added on by itself. Don't forget, because there's a minus sign here, it's negative 16 over 7. Let's go ahead and just see that. Slope is 5 over 7. Y-intercept's negative 16 over 7. Number 10. Right, number 10, we want to find the slope of the line that goes to the points 11, comma, negative 13, and negative 7, comma, negative 15. All right, so remember what the slope is. That we have a formula that you have to memorize. M is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if you go ahead and just label your points up here, it makes it a lot easier to keep track of. You can say 11 is x1, and then the corresponding negative 13 is y1. And then we have x2 for negative 7 and y2 for negative 15. Let's go ahead and plug it in. y2 is negative 15 minus y1, which is negative 13, over x2, which is negative 7, minus x1, which is 11. Now simplify each part. The double minus here makes a plus. Negative 15 plus 13 is negative 2. And negative 7 minus 11 is negative 18. Keep simplifying here. The negatives cancel out on the top and bottom. And also 2 over 18, we can take a 2 out of each and you get 1 over 9. So the slope is 1 over 9. It says enter your answer as an integer or a reduced fraction. So that is our reduced fraction, 1 over 9. Actually, even has it kind of worked out for you, which is nice. All right. Now that's the first 10 questions. So this is part 1 of the video. I will have the next part up for numbers 11 through 20 very shortly.